This is all information you guys don't even need, so I don't know why I'm telling you. But I saw Rudolph, Mom. He had the red nose. And I was just like, Hey guys, just popping on here real quick to do my weekly weigh-in because I don't have much else to say this week, and I'm trying to get the Vegas video finished, so hopefully this will give me the impetus to do that. Last week I weighed in at 174.4. This week I weighed in at 173.6. So I lost 0.8 pounds. We'll round that up to a pound and call it good. And I'm pretty happy with that, especially since I wasn't bad, but I wasn't exactly trying to be real good. Regardless, a pound, I'm happy. So, yeah, so the rest of this video was filmed a couple of weeks after we got back from Vegas, so in December at some point. And it's going to be a long one, so if you don't want to watch it, that's fine. If you just came to see the weekly weigh-in, you're already done. Cool. So without further ado, here is my Vegas recap. First things first, I bought this while I was in Vegas. I bought it at the Sephora, and I've just put it on for the first time. Not paid, by the way, at all. And I feel like I'm filming through a filter. So what it does is it's a instant firm temporary face tightener. And I feel like everything has just been sucked up in my face, but I feel like I'm wearing like a face mask, one of those peeling face masks where, anyway, it feels very, very weird. It looks very, very weird. And I don't know if I like it. I mean, I like how tight everything looks, but it feels like if I smile, everything's just gonna crack. And it probably will. I've heard that it flakes and it like leaves a white residue, but I wanted to try it. It was a fun little thing. Anyway, my sister-in-law got these cute mugs for us for Christmas. Isn't it adorable? So, speaking of all things Vegas, I want to talk about my trip. So, we got home, it's probably been 2 weeks now. So we got home 2 weeks ago, and as I said in my post-vacation weigh-in video, it was one of the best times, one of the best trips we've ever had. Everything was just perfect. It was one of those rare trips where nothing really went wrong, and it just felt like everything just fell into place. And it was, I'm not going to say it was perfect, but it was as close to a perfect vacation as we've had in a very, very, very long time, if ever. So if you're going to hear me gush about that, because it was so great. And I'm not used to that. I made a list. I was just going to like film this randomly here and there, like pop in and film things as I remember them, but the OCD in me just couldn't do it, and I needed to make a list. So we left on a Tuesday afternoon from work. We left around noon. We always drive, almost always drive, and it's about 9 hours from where we live to Las Vegas. So we knew we were going to be meeting our friend in Tehachapi, where she lives. And we haven't seen her in at least 3 years. It was post-pandemic the last time we saw her, but I don't even know how far back. She's a friend from the theater. And every time we drive, we're like, we have to stop in and see Cheryl. We have to do it. And we're either too anxious to get there or too just exhausted and anxious to get home. So we never do it. So we're like, we have to do it this time. We have to make it a point. And we're leaving early enough that we can. Normally we leave after work at like 5 o'clock. And it's just, ugh, the thought of stopping at that point is just, plus it's too late for her to even, you know. So anyway, so we left around noon, 12:30 on Tuesday. Original plan was to drive to Tehachapi, have dinner with her, and then stop at a Walmart to pick up supplies for the room and whatnot. Because we normally stop in Wasco on the way there. That's just a good stopping point for us to get out and stretch our legs at that point. But we were like, well, we'll already be stopped in Tehachapi, but we were running early, so we ended up stopping in Wasco anyway. And holy cow, I don't know what was going on at 3 o'clock in Wasco, but everybody and their mother was there. I mean, I get that it was in the middle of December and a lot of people may have been doing Christmas shopping, but it was 3 o'clock on a Tuesday. I didn't understand, but we picked up what we had to pick up. And then by the time we got to the checkout, the lines were insane. There were like only 4 registers open and the lines were literally wrapping around to the entrance. It was absolutely ridiculous. We happened to hit it just right that we were right here and this register opened and Rob was like, run. And so I ran and I happened to be the first one there. Anyway, so we did stop in Wasco, and then so we got to Tehachapi, I want to say 5 or 6, 5 maybe, and we met her at a pizza place. I think it was called TK's Pizza. Cute little place. It reminded me of a very small town type of pizza place, which it was. And we got a barbecue chicken pizza. It was so good. Oh my God. It was really, really good. I'm used to having the ultra thin crust Safeway pizzas because they're only like 500 calories for half a pizza. But this was so good. And we stayed for about 2.5 hours because we hadn't seen her in forever and the conversation was really good and we just didn't want to rush it. So by the time we left, it was already late. We didn't get to Vegas until probably midnight at least. And then by the time we checked into the room, it was 1 o'clock. And so we didn't get to bed until it had to be like 2. And so we stayed at the Flamingo, which is one of our favorite hotels to stay at because it's just low roller enough for us. Like we don't feel like we're out of our league. And I, of course, love all the pink. And we've stayed there, I want to say at least 6 or 7 times. And we've had this type of room before. I'll put some video up of the room. We've had this type of room before, but we've never had a view this good at the Flamingo. We had a view of like literally straight across the street was Caesar's Palace. And if you looked to the left, it was the Bellagio fountains. So we were actually able to see the fountain show from, if we were like sitting on the bed at night. It was really cool. We've never had a view that good at the Flamingo. So I was really, really impressed. So the first night we didn't do jack. We just literally unpacked. And we ate some leftover pizza from the dinner that we had with Cheryl. And we passed out. Because the next morning we had our tattoo appointment. Now I talked about the tattoo in my last weigh-in video, which I will link somewhere up here. And you can go there to see the basics about it. But Rob and I have been talking about getting Vegas-themed tattoos probably for 20 years, almost as long as we've been married. So we've thought about it, always wanted to do it, but just never pulled the trigger. And this year, this whole trip was like a bucket list trip. Basically things that we've always wanted to do, but never have, be it because we just never gotten around to it, or something we always wanted to do when we first started going to Vegas, but then we kind of got jaded and we were like, well, it's too touristy to do now. We're Vegas veterans, you know, nobody does that, you know, after they've been coming to Vegas for 20 years. We're like, screw it. Let's just do what we've always wanted to do, since we've run the gamut of a lot of things that I mean, we've done a lot in Vegas. And so the trips are kind of like, well, we've already done that. We've already done that. We've already done that. So we just sat down and we made a list of things. And anyway, tattoos were on it. So at Club Tattoo at the Link, since it was right next door to Flamingo, we had 2 separate tattoo artists, but they were on different shifts. So we were hoping originally that we could just like sit side by side and get our tattoos. But the guy he wanted came on at 10 o'clock, and the girl that I wanted didn't come on until 1. So as I said in my last video, my original plan was just to sit with Rob for a minute, you know, make sure he was okay, because it'd been a minute since his last tattoo, and by a minute I mean 20 years. So just to make sure, you know, he was okay with the whole thing, and then I was gonna bounce and just like go gamble or whatever. And then I ended up having such a good time sitting there just shooting the shit with the tattoo artist. He was awesome. And so I ended up staying until my girl came on at 1, and then got the tattoo mock-up, and it was bigger than I wanted, and I was not sure, and I was very hesitant. But I ended up falling in love with it, and she put it right in the center of my back. Here's the finished product. And well, you can see it here too, if you like. Hopefully I can zoom in on that. But it took 5 hours. 5 hours in the chair, scrunched over like this. And it was so painful. I'd like to think that I have a high tolerance for pain. I've had kidney stones my whole life. Generally, I've always thought I've had a high pain tolerance. No, I don't. Nope. It was so hard. And it wasn't like, initially she started it and I was like, okay, I can handle this. But 5 hours of going over the same stuff over and over and over again on your back, just needles, just, oh my God. And you can see from the skyline is all dark black. And for whatever reason, the Luxor was the hardest part for me. I teared up. I almost started like bawling, like tears were falling down, and I was just like, no. And once I got angry at myself for crying over a tattoo, then I was able to dial it back, and I was like, oh, don't be a wuss, you're fine. And then once I got angry, I was okay. But dude, 5 hours of needles just going over the same spots. No. I don't think I will do a tattoo that big again. I will probably consider tattoos in the future, but nothing that big. That was a lot. And not just the pain of the tattoo, but scrunching over for 5 hours and doing this for 5 hours. Yeah, it was a lot. I was exhausted. We were supposed to be my friend Rachel at Ellis Island for barbecue that night. And I was like, I absolutely cannot. We were like probably 3/4 of the way through the tattoo. And I was like, to my husband, I was like, text Rachel, tell her we will have to reschedule. I cannot do anything tonight. It was bad. We just went back to the hotel and ended up having a salad that we had gotten in the Wasco Walmart. We always get salads thinking we're gonna eat well in Vegas, and then we end up throwing them out at the end of the trip. But we actually ate them this time because I was like, I don't even want to go downstairs. I don't want to think about even just grabbing fast food. Just take me to the room. I was beat, and I was beat probably for the next 2 days. Like, I felt like I'd been hit by a bus. It was a lot. So yeah. Anyway, so that was Wednesday. Thursday we got up and we went to Cosmo because we wanted to do the Wicked Spoon buffet. And we've never done that. We've always heard just really good things about it. Really good variety. We're not big buffet people. Oh, back up. So I mentioned this in my last video, But after the tattoo, I was told that I wasn't supposed to exercise for a week. And it threw my mind into a tailspin. Go watch the other video because it really messed with my head. But it ended up being a good thing. Once my brain realized that I was going to do this and I was going to not exercise and not really count calories for a week just to sort of give myself an experiment, I was like all for the buffet. I didn't go real crazy. I don't enjoy that overly full feeling. That is a big trigger for me back to my bulimia days. So I try to avoid that at all costs. So I got enough so that I was full. And I was probably fuller than I wanted to be, but I wasn't that like, oh my God, I need to purge full. So that's how I tried to do the rest of the trip. Like I wanted to enjoy myself and I wanted to eat, but I can't do that overly full. I'm gonna, like when people are joke around and say like, oh my God, I'm so full, I'm gonna throw up. That was what I would do back in the day. So obviously I don't want to do that. But Wicked Spoon was really good. The quality was really good. And the difference between me now and the difference between me then was, prior to this weight loss journey, was that back then, whatever I put on my plate, I would have finished. Even if it was subpar. Even if I was like, that's not that great, I still would have finished it. Whereas this time I was like, okay, I took a bite of that. It didn't do for me what I wanted it to, so I'm not going to eat that anymore. And I would put it aside and then I would go on to the next thing. After Wicked Spoon, we went over to the Bellagio because we go to the conservatory every time. That's the little place. So Bellagio has an atrium of sorts that it's inside, but I believe it has like skylights in the ceiling. And they make all of these displays, seasonal displays, and they make them out of mostly flowers. So it smells just delightful in there. But we have hardly ever been in Vegas for Christmas, so we don't usually see the Christmas display. We usually only see the Thanksgiving one or the fall one. So we were really excited to go over there, and we busted out the fat head. I told you guys that I was bringing my mom to Vegas with me. Well, my mom passed 2 years ago, but we discovered we were going to be in Vegas for her birthday. So I sent away for this fat head of my mom on a stick, and we took her to Vegas with us. So we took her to the Bellagio because she loved those displays, and she loved the Coca-Cola bears, and they had one whole display of the Coca-Cola bears. So we took lots of pictures of her with us. And we also got our Christmas picture taken in front of the giant Christmas tree there. That worked out really well. We were trying to take a selfie, and there was a lady in front of us, and she was by herself, and she's like, do you want me to take your picture? And we were so grateful, and she got this great picture where she got us and the whole tree, and we were really grateful. And then we ended up taking her picture for her, which was nice. Nice little exchange. After Bellagio, we walked back to the Flamingo, and we kind of chilled out in the room for a little while, got changed, and then we walked down to Resorts World. They were putting on what they call Enchant, which is a Christmas lights display sponsored by the Hallmark Channel. So it is basically, they've made this little village, and there's a maze that you go through, and it's full of Christmas lights, and you're supposed to find all the reindeer. The story is that a big storm blew through town, and all of the reindeer went missing, and you have to find all the reindeer to save Christmas. It's really cute thing. It's completely hokey, completely cheesy, but in the best way possible. So you're like rolling your eyes at everything, and then like you're like, oh, but look, and then you like running to something. It's really cute. The whole time we were in there, Rob is narrating out loud our Hallmark Christmas story. So he's telling me as we're doing all this stuff, and he's acting it out sometimes too. It was really funny. So I was a big time journalist who had ran off to Chicago, but I was back in our hometown for whatever reason. And he was my hometown ex-boyfriend who I would never date now because he didn't have any money because he was just a lowly goat farmer. And by the end of this whole thing, he'd created this scenario where, unbeknownst to me, he had invented a goat milking system that had revolutionized the goat milk industry, the goat cheese industry. And he was a millionaire, and it was hilarious. And the lights were just incredible. And it was just, I was like a little kid. There was fake snow falling from the sky. I mean, it was amazing. And I highly, highly recommend it. It was a little bit pricey for us, but if you have kids, definitely do it. They are going to be just insane with the Christmas spirit, because I loved it. I was just running around like a little kid. And yeah, totally worth it. We even got the $18 hot chocolate. I'm not one to pay $18 for anything that is just a beverage. But it came with like a little souvenir mug and whatnot. And it was just, you were totally in the throes of it. And there was a little ice skating rink that you could go ice skating. You could rent skates and go. We didn't, because I can barely walk on my own 2 feet, let alone, no, I'm not going on ice. And yeah, it was very cute. We spent about 2 hours there. It was very nice, very cute. And then we were on our way back to our hotel, and we cut across the street to walk on the other side because there was more to see on that side. One of our goals this trip was to do the gondola rides at the Venetian, because we'd never done them. And I think we had them planned for like Saturday. We had like a little itinerary, and it was probably like 8 o'clock at night by the time we were walking past the Venetian, and we were like, hey, there's nobody here. Let's just do it now. And it was nighttime, and so we did the outside one, and it was really romantic. This was like the perfect day, you guys. So we did the buffet, then we did Enchant, and then, it was the gondolas. It was like the perfect romantic day. I don't know if I was high on his Hallmark story that he'd invented for us, but I was just like, this is just the most romantic day. Yeah, it was. When I roll my eyes at myself, it's bad. But it was nice. We got the private gondola, and the dude sang to us, and I'll put a little video in here. Very nice.
It was beautiful.
It was just really good. And then when we were done with that, we realized we were right across the street from the Mirage, and it was almost time for the volcano to go off. Now, the Mirage just got bought by Hard Rock, I think. And so they're going to destroy that probably within a year or so. I don't know how much longer they're going to keep the actual volcano running. But I'd never actually seen the whole thing. I had only seen it once, and that was when I was running past it during one of the half marathons. It was going off. So it was perfect timing. We hit it, and we watched it from across the street. And then we realized we were right in front of Casino Royale's White Castle. So we ended up getting a sack of burgers and went back to the hotel. It was a perfect day. It was really, 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 it was a good day. So the next day was Friday, and we had reservations at Giada's for brunch. So I had a $100 voucher to spend on food, and their brunch prices, when I looked at them, weren't bad. So we walked over there, and it was a really nice place, and we've decided that we will probably go there again, even without the voucher, for brunch, because it was, I mean, we couldn't even spend, the waiter ended up adding a cookie platter to go for us because we couldn't even spend the $100. So we got pastries to start, like a little tray of pastries, and then we ordered the hazelnut chocolate pancakes and the lobster hash, and then we split it, and it was really, really good. Definitely. We don't tend to eat in high-end places in Vegas because it's just expensive, and we're usually on the go. So going to these restaurants this trip was really, really a good treat. So we ate, and it was just enough food. We didn't feel completely stuffed. So that was good. After Giada's, we went back to the hotel, and I think we just chilled in the room for a while. And then we went downstairs and we did a little gambling. We went to Casino Royale, and then we weren't really feeling the gambling. We were just losing money. So we went back up to the room, and I think we just had leftovers. I don't know what we had for dinner that night. I think we just had like leftover White Castle because we had a fridge in our room. So I think we just had like leftover White Castle, and we called it an early night. And now I was having trouble sleeping from the tattoo. I'm a back sleeper. I don't sleep well on my sides. I definitely don't sleep on my stomach. And as you could tell, my tattoo was on my back. I was trying to sleep on my sides, and it was hurting. Everything was hurting because of the tattoo, hurting because of the tenseness that I had been in the tattoo, and now because I'm trying to sleep on my side. So anyway, that worked in my favor this night because I woke up, I think it was like 3 in the morning, and we had talked about going downtown this trip, and it just didn't look like it was going to happen. And so it was like 3 in the morning, and I got up, and I couldn't get back to sleep because I couldn't fathom sleeping on my side anymore, and I couldn't sleep on my back. So I got up and I fiddled around on the internet, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to see if Rob will wake up. So I woke him up, and I was like, do you want to go downtown? It was 3:30 in the morning. He's like, sure, let's do it. So it was perfect because part of the reason we didn't want to go downtown was because at that point it was already the weekend, and it would be crowded, and we're still, COVID shy, and I don't like people in general on a good day. I definitely don't like crowds, and I definitely don't like overcrowded situations. So we got there at 5 in the morning. By the time we got an Uber, got dressed, got an Uber, and got there, it was probably like 4:35 in the morning. They were mopping the floors of the Fremont Street Experience, and there was like no one there. It was perfect. It was so perfect. So we got to go to Circa for the first time. That's the brand new downtown casino where the Las Vegas Club used to be. So we got to see that. To me, it was just very loud. I know that I'm showing my age now because we go in there and I was like, I can't hear anything. This music's too loud. I was like total grandma. We hit all the usual spots. Four Queens, which was our Vegas home for many, many years when we first started going there. Fremont, Plaza, and then we made it to the D, and we ended up going to their new restaurant, which was called, I believe it's called Bacon Nation. And any restaurant that has bacon in the title, is going to be good. And the food was amazing, dude. We got these macaroni and cheese breakfast tacos. It doesn't sound like it would work, but it worked. So the shell was a pancake with macaroni and cheese baked into it. It kind of sounds gross, right? No, it was amazing. And then it was filled with eggs and sausage and bacon and cheese. Oh my God. It was probably the best thing that I had the entire trip. I kept thinking back to those tacos and wondering how we could get back downtown to get some, because I was just, they were so good. They were so good. And so I had initially ordered the French toast box, which was peanut butter, chocolate, and banana. And they bake it into this French toast box. And so when you cut into the box, all the goo spills out. It was good. And he had gotten the breakfast tacos, and then we realized that he was in a sweet mood and I was in a savory mood, so we switched. And it worked out perfectly. But oh my God, it was so good. So good. And then we went down after that. We ended up going to El Cortez, and we ended up actually having our first win of the trip. I won $100 on a Monopoly machine, which was cool. And then I think we got back to the hotel probably like 8 or 9 in the morning. And I was just gonna lay down, of course, and I ended up taking a 2-hour nap. I don't think we did much else that night. I think after the nap, we went down to the Link Promenade and like walked around. I think we got a milkshake from In-N-Out Burger. And then, we got sushi burritos from one of the restaurants down at the Promenade. And then we went to bed early that night again, because we're old now. Sunday, we had reservations at the Eiffel Tower restaurant at Paris for brunch. So I finally got to wear that dress that I got a couple months ago at Ross for like $15 that I think I showed you guys in a haul at one point. And we got dressed up, we got fancy, and then we headed over there, and that was perfect. We ended up getting a window view, but we also had a view of the Bellagio fountain, so that was really cool. So everything there was perfect, as you would expect in a high-end restaurant. But again, I didn't feel like the brunch prices were that bad. It was like a fixed menu. For $59 a person, you could get your choice of like 5 different appetizers, 5 different entrees, and then 5 different desserts. And then there were add-ons that you could do. I got one of the add-ons because I got the filet mignon, which was $16 extra. But everything was just perfect. My appetizer was the French onion soup, and then I got the filet mignon, and my dessert was the creme brulee. And oh God, everything was just amazing. The service was amazing. Everything was perfect. The food was just, so good. And yeah, it was. So we left there, and now we had that night to meet Rachel, where we had rescheduled from the night with the tattoo. So we didn't finish eating. Our reservation wasn't until 11:45 because I'd forgotten to make the reservations. So we had been hoping for an earlier one, but the earliest one we could get was 11:45. So by the time we were done, it was 1 o'clock, and we were meeting Rachel at 4:30 at Ellis Island for barbecue. So we split a whole rack of ribs, but it comes with garlic bread, corn on the cob, beans, coleslaw. Like it's a whole big ass platter of food. So we knew at that point, we had already told Rachel, we're sending you home with our leftovers. We're not that hungry. So he and I had like maybe 3 ribs each, and that was it. But we sent her home with leftovers, and it was really good. And then we gambled around Ellis Island for a while just to like sit and chat with her still. And then we walked. We decided to, she offered to give us a ride back, but we decided to walk because of how much food we'd eaten that day. So we walked back to the hotel, and then we ended up going out into the flamingo habitat, even though it was dark, because they had like some Christmas lights out there. So that was cool. And then we went back up to the room and we packed. And then that was sad because then we had to go home. And then the next day we drove home. Rob drove home. We rescued our doggies from the vets, and They were very, very angry with us, but then very, very happy to see us as well. And that was it. It was an amazing trip. It was just, I can't say enough good things about this trip. It was really good. I was very, very pleased. Very pleased. And Rob kept saying things like, I'm not used to you like wanting to go out and do things, because I just wasn't in a mentally good place for many, many years. And I feel like moreover now, the physical benefits of all the exercise that I've been doing, the mental benefits are just above and beyond. And that's why I keep saying that I don't think I could ever stop exercising. Even if I gained all the weight back, I would still want to exercise every single day, because it's done just wonders for my anxiety. I used to not want to leave the house, guys, man. Yeah, it was bad. It was really bad. And it's been a complete 180 as far as my personality. It's done wonders. And so we kept joking on the trip. Like, he's like, this is so weird that we're not going out and doing things, other than just like gambling or whatever. And I said, yeah, I said, I said something like, we're having like a second honeymoon or something like that. He's like, no, it's like I'm having an affair with my wife. Because physically I look completely different, and also mentally I'm different. So it was funny, but it was a really good trip. Only other thing that I wanted to mention that I noticed was on the lack of exercise. So because I couldn't get any organized exercise in this trip because of the tattoo, before I first started exercising, my resting heart rate was somewhere around 80. It's pretty high. And it would go from 80 to 100, not rest, but resting was probably sitting at about 80. And since I've been exercising over the course of this last year, it has gone down to like 58 is where it pretty much stays. And so that's like a huge, huge drop. And they say that that's like a good indication that your cardio health your heart's doing well, whatever. So I say that because the week that I was not exercising on this trip, I noticed my heart rate went up. And I'll put a picture in here with a graph of my Fitbit app. And it shows that I went up, I don't have it in front of me, but you'll see it's like, I think it was like 5 or 6 points. It was significant enough that it made a big blip on the little graph. And I don't know if that was a combination. I think it was a combination of two things. I think it was not having formal exercise and all the sugar I was eating, because I was eating a lot of sugar. In addition to whatever we were eating out at restaurants and whatever we brought back, we had gotten at the Walmart junk food. And we tried to err on the better side of junk food, but we also got a package of Oreos, which I was eating every night for dessert, and a big bag of like the s'mores cereal that we were eating with the little yogurts that we got. So, I mean, it wasn't a huge, huge deal, but compared to what I have normally been eating, it was quite a bump in sugar. And not having the formal exercise, I thought it was very interesting how my resting heart rate went up. So, and just that short amount of time. So I don't know what that means, but I thought it was interesting, and I like statistics and all that kind of stuff. So I just thought I would put that out there. So for whatever it's worth. So yeah, since I've been home, it's gone back down. Like, it took almost the same amount of time, but since I've been home and exercising, it's gone back down. So for whatever that means, for whatever it's worth, there's a tidbit for you. So, all right, this video is probably way long, and I hope I don't have to break it into 2 parts, but If you have made it through this whole video, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed at least some of it. I will see you guys next time.